Hello, it is I, your internet friend, Robert Gadarian. Today we're talking about debugging, and specifically in Python. I'll be breaking this into a few pieces. This is the Python piece. And we have some code inside of our project under unit test demo. I'm going to look at that, and it's called sumcode.py. I don't have the VI set up for Python, so this is just very basic, but totally works, and it is nice. So as we know about debuggers, we can set a breakpoint. There is ways from looking at the documentation that you can start Python in a PDB shell, and Python's debugger is called PDB. It's almost a joke on GDB, and it has a lot of the same commands as GDB. It is Python flavored, but that's okay. You can start a PDB shell, open up your program and run it. I have never functionally run it that way. I've written a bunch of Python code. This is the way that I've always done it. Say that our multiplication is wrong. Maybe, yeah, let's do multiplication. Sure. Doesn't really matter because we're just stopping code. I'm going to say import pdb.set_trace. And that is us setting a breakpoint that we're going to stop at, which is perfect. Right quit. You can see that, Python 3, some code. Now when we run it and we run that multiply function, it's going to stop there. And we can actually see that by hitting L, which will list all the code around us. You give us a little arrow to where our instruction pointer is. And you can see that line of code that I just added is right there. And now I can actually start printing this with P, which is probably 1, and print that. I can pre-print it too. Which is 2. It's going to multiply 1 times 2. Neat. Well, I'm happy with that. Now I can still use the step forward or step over with next and step. I'm just going to say S for step forward, and it's in the return statement. I can just hit enter and it'll repeat it. And you can see that I'm in calling print on crap fib, which is not great. But we get up here, now you can see that, we did multiply. We did indeed pass in 1 and 2, and that worked. If we want to take a step up our stack, we can press R, and then it'll return from this function. It'll run the next all of the rest of this function and stop at the next time that, the next return from this stack frame, which is great. So maybe I will step into crap fib, because why not? And I can look at my code here. That's nice. I can step into that again. I'm in the n is less than 2. I believe that's true. I can print out n. It's 100. Okay, I can indeed step into that. So I'm going to step in again. It's going to return. I'm going to step into that, and that's fine. And I can print out where I am with W, or I can actually type where if I wanted to. There's nice shortcuts. And it'll print out my entire stack trace. Not the prettiest way of doing it. If you can widen your terminal from over 80 characters wide, it's actually helpful. I'm trying to not do that, but I could. Because, well, guess what? I'm just here. So I'm going to make this bigger for us. I got to do that for us. Can we see that? Sure. There we go. Is that going to look nicer? Oh, it's still too big. My path is just way too long here. That's too bad. So I'm going to hit R, and it's going to return up to our last call. And then we can print out anything we want to. We can inspect our variables. Those are all very nice things we can do. And those are the main tools I'll use to do any of this. I'll set breakpoints, usually with set trace. I really keep my debugging very small. I don't have breakpoints everywhere. I'll just have 1 or 2. You can set breakpoints. I always forget how to do that. I generally just use set trace to stop it there. And then solve that one problem and move on. So there is lots of excellent documentation because Python's documentation is actually pretty good, including help. So I used where. I didn't use up and down. I don't usually do that, but you can set new breakpoints if and when you need them, including temporary breakpoints. So you can set them on a line number, which is, again, pretty handy. Enable, disable breakpoints, of course. And just to run it, hit C, and then it'll just continue. Or you can type continue if you're so inclined. And then it'll run until the end of the program, which is fine. You'll probably get your own way of wanting to do this. I'm generally using list to see my code, step, either step into or step over, with that N is for step over. Oh, interesting. I should probably use this one more often. Looking at the documentation after you've used it for a while is amazingly useful, which is really cool. But there's a whole bunch of really good things you can use here, including the documentation on how to run your PDB shell and then run your code. If that's what you want to do, I don't think it's great. I really think just using set trays and having really good unit tests is the way to go. And I've built a number of things using those fundamentals. But everyone just wants them in IDE. This is going to be really tiny, and it's really hard to make this bigger. This is pyCharm. This is by JetBrains. This is kind of falls under the first one is always free. So there's a community edition and a pro edition. And if you're making money, you're supposed to pay for the pro edition. So honestly, it's $100 a month. And if you're a professional, that's or $100 a year. Last time I checked. If you're a professional, you'll probably make that in pretty much no time. So you can see that I have a breakpoint because I was testing it. So I'm going to set a breakpoint here. Sure. All I have to do is click in the side here, and then I need to run with debug. So I have run, and I have the bug for debug. I hit that, and it's going to stop me after it runs the code on that line of code. You can see the stack trace here, which is massive because it's Fibonacci done the stupid way. And I have my usual tools of rerun, so starting from scratch, continue, which would be the C in GDB, and step into and step over are all here. So step over, meaning that you're not going to go into that function, but you will still run it. And step into, which will actually run it, that code. And then step out, which is the same as return, as in R. And I really love this one. I use this frequently if I use an IDE, which is run to cursor. So I want to just put my cursor here, and I want to just run it until I actually get there, and it will do that. I'm gonna get rid of this breakpoint. I got to my cursor. I forgot that this existed because I don't use this very often. I'm gonna run to cursor here. Oh, no, I'm not. It's already completed. I'm gonna set a breakpoint here, apparently, and rerun it. There we go. Whoop, too many clicks. Use too many IDEs, and you fall into the trap of, like, do I click on the numbers? Do I click the side of the numbers? This is nice because it actually shows me what the variables are, like, in line with my code. I forgot how good this IDE is. Ugh, I'm sad that I hate them. So I'm going to set, I don't even want to set the breakpoint. I can just run to cursor. I get rid of that. I can just run to my cursor, and then I can just keep on doing that. And it's a very, very, very handy tool. So IDEs are great. I'm not going to lie to you. But don't be afraid to know the command line version, because sometimes your code won't be in a place where you have an I. You don't have, well, I guess you will have a interactive, what is it? GUI. Oh, IDE is interactive development environment. So a GUI, a graphical user environment, graphical user interface. Wow, this is awesome. I'm falling apart. So, excellent tool for using Python and Python tools. And of course, don't be afraid of using the good old terminal. It is honestly very good. And I made this too big now. And can do all the same things. Yeah, you just have to be a little more clever and remember have a few more commands sitting around in your head. And overall, use debuggers. You can see your variables. You can see what it's doing. You can step through your code. You'll see which if statements are getting executed. It's everything you could want and more. Hopefully that is clear through this demo. Have a great day.